consciously eating.
It's good. And I have to pull up the sheet so I know what we are talking about. So we cover week 3 only today. All right. Another day, another video. This time we're gonna talk about week 3 and what we think the outcome might be, who will be ahead after this week, because I think that's a very important week. We already covered last week, and we also covered week 1 a while back now. And currently, the table looks very balanced, I would say. We have 2 clear favorites. We have one very very rock bottom team where it's very clear that they struggle very heavily and strongly. But the 2 top teams, namely Beatflits and Square Roots teams, are at the same maps and the same points after 2 weeks, after playing Weird Red and then another team. And it's now interesting to see, because they will play each other, how they fare against each other, because Team Glaber is like a 3rd place currently, and is, I think, a contender for even the 1st place, because I think right now it's not decided yet. It just looks this way because Weird Red was farmed that way. So I think week 3 can be very decisive, because if we imagine like Square Root now losing versus Beatflits very heavily, maybe 2 digits in points going to Beatflits, I think that's a very huge slip up from Team Square Root, and would cause Beatflits to be the heavily favored team. And I think Beatflits could not, maybe versus, because they have to face Glaber and Slammer in the next weeks, they might be able to slip up and give it away somehow, but they would be in a very strong position, and they would most likely take 1st place. But in the other hand, it could go also in Square Root's way, and Beatflits gets a beating, and then we would have Square Root, who's looking very scary, and he's also then strong contender. But they can also very closely be done with each other, and then maybe Team Glaber is able to snatch more points from one of these teams and gets into 1st or 2nd position. So it's very entertaining right now, and this week will be very important. Hence, we have seen all the wildcards used. So what do you think, Itano? What's the most interesting face up here?
It has to be Team Weird Rats, because they have 2 points right now going into week 3. There's only 5 weeks, so if they're going to claw out from the bottom, they've committed some obscene number of wild cards to this week. If Team Weird Rat comes out of here and they get 6 points, that's not good enough. Like that means they are definitely the worst team 100%. So almost morbidly, I want to see how Team Weird Rat does. I hope that they do well. And then actually for me, remember, what did I say? I said that Slammer 4's team was the deepest team and that it was going to go the distance, which looks really shaky right now, that they're in 4th place out of 6. And I even said if his team does 4th out of 6, he's actually, or 3rd out of 6, he's actually underperformed. So now we're going to see the truth this week of what you were saying about how, well, maybe the 2 teams in 1st place just got there by farming Weird Rat's team, right? And Slammer's team, he's not up against Weird Rat's team. He hasn't gone up against it yet, and he's up against Beatflits, who did a really good job farming Team Weird Rat. So we might be able to get a sense of where Team Slammer's, like Slammer 4's team, actually sits after all of this, after this week. So there's definitely a lot of plates being spun here.
Well, Slimmer has made, like, Slimmer's team did a good performance versus Square Root, I think. Taking 6 points was okay. Could have been more. Guinness kind of slipped up and lost the map to Gyarados, which at least for me, was a bit unexpected. So I'm really I'm really looking forward how Slammer is doing versus Beatflits. Because in fact, in the beginning, I was talking about Square Root and Beatflits as the favorite, and we will see that in week 4, not this week. So I kind of botched it. but it's okay. Um, so I think Slammer and Team Glabber really have to get points now because they are facing the two favorites. So I think I mean with the wildcard users, I see Guinness as the clear favorite versus Yosh's, and Beatflit's kind of using Heavy in a weird spot. I mean it's guaranteed 3 points for Beatflitz, but you could arguably say that Slammer also gets that's very safe 3 points for him in a position with Guinness. So I'm not too yeah, and I'm not too sure if I like the wild card from Beatflitz. I mean, it grants you 3 points, but it's also wasting an opportunity here because I think Hefe, as strong as he is, he could have taken the 3 points of Guy and Chet Bisham. Even I can even imagine Hefe winning 2-0 versus Guinness. Like there were some better uses, I think, for the wild card. But hence, I mean, he did it. So now he gets the 3 points as easy as he can. But imagine new type kind of, I don't know, pulling up a very weird cheese. Like I know Guinness is no stranger to cheese, and I think Slammer also has some very funny all-in tactics, which are very hard to hold. So if new type can get into a situation where he can kind of execute it without trouble, it's very unlikely and stuff, of course. But
I'm,
imagine new type taking a map of Heavy. That would be awesome.
I'm, I'm gonna say right now, actually, that bearing in mind that Haffy is swapped out for the bottom-most player, like he's facing up against new type.
Yeah.
I don't even think that if Team Beatflitz sees Haffy go 2-0 in 5 minutes, like new type just
Mm,
gets bent over by the first worker scout and just
mm,
completely dies. I
mm,
don't think the 3 points that Haffy gets are worth it, right? Because now
mm.
we're going to have 2 more weeks after this. That's already a couple of uses. I praised what Beatflitz did last week, where he put himself in the game,
Yeah,
coach,
yeah,
and managed to get 3 points. But Haffy is too important of a piece to replace for the bottom of the ladder. I
yeah,
mean, you look at Slammer 4's team, Beatflitz against Slammer 4. I think Slammer is favored.
yeah,
Uh, B-Sherm against ItchJ. Yeah, ItchJ's got it. Guinness against Joshers. That's pretty good for Slammer's team.
yeah,
And then Happy to come in and swap out to fight new type is just kind of a. I mean, you'll get the 3 points, but I don't really know what you're aiming for here
yeah.
with that swap. There must just have been an absentee player or
I can, I
something of
can, I
that
can
nature. I would
imagine.
love to hear.
Yeah, I can imagine Beachlet thinking that Slammer would swap like someone in maybe Guinness for new type or something like that. Like he had a
Oh,
wrong
I see.
read or so. You know what I mean? Maybe that was the
Yeah,
idea.
you think maybe it was like, oh, B Sherm is going to lose to ItchJ, so I'm going to swap B Sherm and new type. So
Mm,
new type fights ItchJ and B Sherm fights the
mm,
other guy, and that way we get an extra win. And then he was like, I think he then, if that's the case, then consciously,
mm,
Beat Flitz was too fast to the punch, as it were. He was trying to trick somebody who wasn't tricking him.
mm.
Because I have to say, just overall looking at the matchup again, I think I think this is a win for Team Beatflitz, but I do kind of question the wild card use when we do have 2 weeks left to go,
Mm.
and there's going to be a lot of scraps for points at the end here. Now, if I say that, I have to be also somewhat unkind to Team Slammer 4 because swapping in new type for the bottom row, that's a little. I mean, that is a wild card use, right? And that's
Well, he
that's
had
going to be
to.
almost a complete.
Yeah, he had to
Yeah, yeah.
swap to like Newtap is not the last seed, so he would not be the last point. He had to swap with Guinness, but in order to have Guinness on his position and Newtap on the other position, he had to use two wildcards. So that's why they kind of swap and they have to
I
bow.
see.
So that was the idea. But I have
Yeah, well,
actually pulled up because I remember Beatflitz told me even about his decision because I was asking. I was just curious why he would do that. So when he told me that he wants to swap out Melon with Heavy, um, he was like, "Okay, you're gonna do another video with Itana." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, of course." And he was like,
okay,
"Okay, then
okay.
this inside info you can go with." So
Okay.
he's like,
Good stuff, Beatflitz.
since Slammer surely will use a wildcard to get Guinness in this, but not him on himself, because me versus Slammer is Slammer favorite. Steph and Guy and Chet, he thinks it's like 50-50. So Beatflitz thinks it's pointless to put Guinness in there if a possible 3 points is a thing. So he was like J versus Bisham is J favored, and there's no need to change it to half a. And Josh versus New Type is Super Josh favored, so he was not expecting to have New Type versus Josh. So it was for him only Melon versus Highlander Ghost. So and that's a 50-50. So for him,
Oh, I see.
for him it was very like his read was that Slammer would put in Guinness, but he was kind of trying to predict where Slammer would put in Guinness. He didn't think Slammer would use two wildcards, and he in fact only used one. But he needed the other one to have the position swapped. So yeah, he was like, well, Bisham or Highlander Ghost it is, and he was going with the Highlander Ghost. Decided on that, and I think that was just
Uh,
his read, which was a bit off.
I
So yeah.
see. It would have been brilliant if it had worked out because
Oh
imagine for
yes.
anyone who's not following along in the chat, what he's saying is, what if Team Slammer 4 put Guinness or B Sherm as the weakest player, quote, like the bottommost
Mhm.
player, right? And then they think they're going to collect and farm points, and they look, and it's not it's not Melon that they're up against, it's Haffy.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah,
all of a sudden the swap gets absolutely nothing done. That would have been amazing, but
yeah.
as as it stands, I think Team Beatflitz will win this interaction.
What? How?
Right? There's a lot of weight on the Der Steph versus guy in chat,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, there's a lot of weight on that 50-50. So, but with that said, Der Steph has been getting some good corpses, and considering that he's training equally with Beatflitz, who has
Mm.
ascended to Gamma today, by the way.
Yeah,
Did you know
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Beatflitz is
He
now in
posted to
Gamma.
Discord. Nice one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, he's very happy about
I'll
it. So
never,
I
I'll
think
never
guy in
reach Gamma. I will never reach it.
no. If I get Div 1, I'll be like, oh, just I've been putting in the
Mm,
work, so of course I finally,
mm,
Div 1 with all of the real players.
yeah.
That'll be my like, aha, look what I've done.
Yeah.
So but it's like I could see, Slammer favored, Der Steph favored, Itch favored, Guinness favored, and then Haffy is just going to completely stomp. And I think that this is going to be a 9-6 or 8-7 in
Yeah, yeah,
Beatflitz's
yeah.
favor.
I expect a 8-7, honestly. I can imagine der
Really?
Stefan
Okay.
Geishet going 2-1 and everything else is going 2-0 in either direction. And then we have the 7-8. So
Okay.
I think that's the way. I mean I can imagine Bisherm taking a map of Itche. I can
That would
imagine
be
Beatflitz.
fantastic for
Yeah,
Slammer's team.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Or I can also imagine Beatflitz taking a map of Slammer. That's also possible. I think Beatflitz has a very, very strong, or had a very strong showing versus Negat in the first week, and also the 2 points he got in week two. Um, I mean, he's very convincing somehow. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yes.
very, very solid as a player, and he's not making any mistakes. He has a very clear game plan, and he's not really moving away from it in the game. He thinks a lot of like he thinks about the games beforehand, and he does preparation like a lunatic. So he has all the replays, and on Slammer, I mean, you can really have a lot of replays.
Yes.
So
Yes. The joke
like
is ranked is the joke used to be consciously that ranked match was click to fight Slammer. So
mm,
I'm sure he could get any number of games he wants against him.
yeah. So I really and also like if you compare Slammer to AC or Hefe or Square Root, Slammer is like a top tier player, no doubt, but he's also very prone to play all in games. Like he's doing something on two base, he's doing something on three base, he's pushing, he's doing all the things. He's going into dragons, he's doing multiple attacks at the same time and stuff. So there is room for beating Slammer, and he in fact lost already some games in his ranked games. And versus players where I would not expect it. So I think Slammer might be able to give a map or even two. I mean, imagine Beatflitz winning 2-1 against Slammer. That would be a huge upset for Team Slammer. So
Yes, yes.
very very important, and I'm very very looking forward to how this goes.
Yes, I agree with a lot of your points. The thing is too that I want to add in is that Slammer is always he's been for many years like a top tier, like upper echelon player. If you're playing and you're getting games off of Slammer, that's like, oh, that's respectable. That's a really good player. He plays a lot. You
Mm.
see him online quite a bit. But a couple of things you mentioned in the previous version, like I'll borrow your point here, which is that Slammer, I haven't seen him online that often
Well, he
as
just
of late.
streamed like he just
Oh,
streamed a
oh
few
yeah,
hours
he just
ago.
screamed. Yeah, that's fair, but I mean on a consistent day in,
Yeah,
day
yeah.
out, unless he's in an alt or he's under guest, which you shouldn't put past people when they're in the
Mm.
pro league. I don't see him online that often, and also there is this weird facet of Slammer where I always feel like I want him to crack the upper echelon, the upper tier
Yeah.
of games. I want him to take home like a gold trophy. I want him to go get first place. I want him to like smash through a winners. And there's just games where it's like, oh, he's just a little shy. So this will be interesting. It'll be like to me, it's the person who's ascending in Beat Flitz
Mm.
versus the person who kind of keeps all of the newbies down there, right? Like, no, you don't get to try and win a tournament. You stay down there with the rest of them. Like
Yeah,
that's who Slammer 4 feels like. So I could actually see Beat Flitz getting a game.
yeah. And that's
The
actually the
rest of
same as
yeah,
Mr. Destroy Call Sword. Because beforehand,
okay.
I had him give me his opinions as his predictions, and he's like on like he's thinking exactly the same about this. He would normally say 2-0 for Slammer, but also since he didn't see him active recently, he's not so convinced, and he said it's very likely that Beatrice takes a map and we have a 2-1 win for Slammer. And also in Guy Forchet versus Der Steff, Destroy Core is actually of the opinion that it's gonna be a 2-1 win for Der Steff, not
Okay.
2-0, which I think is pretty accurate. I can see, but I can also see Guy and Shed. Like it's for me, it's completely 50-50, and I have no read on either guy. I know
Okay.
I won with Cheese versus Der Steff, but macro games, Der Steff is just better than me right now. Not sure if that
Okay.
can change, but right now I just don't see a way to win versus Der Steff in a straight up game. And with Guy and Chat, it's too long ago when I was playing him, so maybe that's different for him. For him, so Destroy Call is like Der Steff gonna take this with two on. And it's Jay Joshers and Guinness and New Type and Hefe. He's just of the same opinion as we, and he don't sees a chance for Bisham actually. Like he's not thinking like me. That Bisham might be able to take a map of Itzjay. So that will be very interesting to see. I really would like.
Yeah, I kind of with him on this actually. If you look at like B Sherm lost the previous week, but in week 1 he beat Sadocaster 2-0.
Mm,
Meanwhile, who is ItchJ playing? He's playing Stevenator and getting games. He took Speedy Bozar out behind back and used the double-barreled shotgun on him with a pillow to bite his teeth down on. Like it
mm,
wasn't very nice. So I think ItchJ is just a bit of class above B Sherm. Anything B Sherm shows here
mm.
would be impressive, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe we enlighten now the fire, and Bisham will show up very strong. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, but
Hmm.
but I think we could move on to Glaba versus Team Square Root of -1, and
Yes.
I would really point out first one thing before we talk about it. Square Root made
Sure.
a request. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Square Root made the request to no, that was for next week, I think. Or was it this
Okay.
week? I think no, next week. It was for next week. So Square Root wants to play on week 4. He wants to face Hefe. And he requested that from Team Beatflitz. And Beatflitz was
All
like, well,
right.
I will ask him, but I will not promise anything. So
Smart. Beatflitz is in full game mode phase,
yeah,
by the way. I want to talk about that actually. He's bringing a lot of vibrancy
yeah,
to the pro league,
yeah.
and the way that he's approaching everyone is so Spartan. It's like, oh, you want this matchup to settle a grudge.
Mm.
No, we're not going to do that. I'm actually just going to put in the guy who you're expected to beat, who's going to cheese you and get a game off of you and make it look really ugly.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you would love to fight this guy, huh? Nah, that's not happening, actually. Oh, you think that you're going to beat me? Well, actually, here's an interview where I tell you that I'm going to stomp you
Mm.
hard.
I like it.
I love how mercenary he's being.
Yeah. So I think if Square Root can beat Team Glaber here very decisively, maybe only give them, I don't know, 5 points and not more, Team Square Root is in a very good spot. And I think Beat Flitz might be forced to not give him heavy because Square Root kind of gave away his tactic for week 4 already. Because he literally told him that he will that he will make sure that Square Root is facing heavy. So yeah, very very interesting to see week 4, because the favorites will play each other. But when we see Glaber versus Square Root, I mean Glaber is in a good spot. They are 3rd place right now in the table.
Yes.
They are really
Yes.
closely following, only 5 points short, and they haven't played Weird Red yet. So Team Glaber really looks strong as well. I would not sleep on them. And it,
I have a bold take. Are you ready?
now let's go.
Okay, I think Team Square Root's only going to get 3 points this week.
What?
I think Glaba's team is going to shell them out 12-3.
Oof.
Because I think the only place that Square Root's team finds victory is against Glaba, and I think pound for pound, especially with the swap in for Yummy Blah Blah on Team Glaba's side, we've got Zelos, who's like Div 1 in climbing, Yummy Blah Blah, who just beat AC last week and is in rare form, Jay Taken, who is like ascending to Div 1 rapidly, and Lillaby, who's a prolific 2den and 2rax cheeser. Who are they up against? A guy who's Div 1, a guy who's Div 2, a guy who's Div 3, and another guy who's low Div 3, almost above Div 4. Like, the problem is the best showing they have on Square Root's team, except Square Root himself, is Hydra, and Hydra is, I don't think, as good as Zelos.
Oh,
Right?
really? You really think?
No, I think Zelos beats Hydra, actually.
Wow. Okay. Let me just take a look at the ranked history.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure I've seen
yep.
that Zelos was playing Hydra a couple times. And
Yes.
actually, Hydra is, I think, on the winning side of it.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
think they are very close to each other. I can imagine Zelos losing this.
Okay. All right. So you don't think
So
you're not going with 12-3 then? You don't think
yeah,
it's
no,
gonna
no, no,
happen
no, no.
like that?
I think it will be very close,
Okay.
honestly. For me, it will be very close. I mean, JN versus Wiggy, I guess that's JN favorite. Yummy Blabla,
Yes.
in fact, played versus Gandhi and just sent me the replays today. So we already know that here Yummy Blabla was able to win with a
Yes.
clean
I
with
would
a
have.
clean sweep.
You'll have to trust me on. You'll
Mm.
have to trust me on this consciously. I would have predicted Yummy to beat Gandhi
Oh, really?
anyways.
What a surprise! Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's already here, so like
Mm.
that's really easy for me to say. But
Yeah, no, that was not really a surprise. I think important will be Square Root versus Glaba. If Glaba will manage to take a map of Square Root, which is
okay.
possible, but I think Square Root will do everything to prevent that. But since we know Glaba is no stranger to cheese, and he also knows a bit with and I guess like if you imagine Glaba and Yummy brainstorming what kind of cheese is effective and how to use it versus what. I think Square Root is in a bit of trouble because these two guys are so good at figuring out stuff like timings, locations for the proxy stuff, the BO in general. I think Gummy Blabla and Glabla, I mean, together they will definitely pose a threat to Square Root, and at least one map I can see that Glabber is taking one map, and I think Square Root really doesn't want that. Square Root really wants to have the 3 points, at least in his match, and also Zelos versus Hydra. I can see that going 2-1 for Zelos, sure, no problem. But that's about it. I mean, these two matches in the beginning are the deciding factors because Team Glaba will definitely take 2 maps, 3 points. when it's coming to JN and Wiggy. JN especially because he's so eager to really show up for his team. He couldn't really do that in the past weeks. And Lily B, I mean, the 2X, I mean, the proxy 2X is strong and stuff, but I think if someone tells the untap to build a tower early on, Lily B is in a bit of trouble. Because when it goes into a longer game, the untap is not that bad. Don't sleep on him. I would not
Okay.
underestimate him. So I can see
All right.
really that we have 2-1. 3 points for Square Root in Dion Tap versus Lilybee and 3 points for JN versus Wiggy for Team Glaba. And then Square Root and Hydra have to bring it, or Zelos and Glaba, respectively.
I'll
So yeah, I
I'll
can
tell
see that will be very close.
I'll tell you what. So I'll watch game one of Lilibee and Deontep, and I'll take my pillow and I'll start like moving it aside. But if I see Lilibee 2 racks and win the game, and Deontep just doesn't even imagine that a tower is possible, I'm grabbing the pillow, I'm putting on a nightcap.
Mm.
Hell, I'm gonna go get a quilt from the downstairs pantry. I'm gonna get nice and comfy. But if Deontep, makes it a struggle and gets past, I'll call it. If Deontep literally gets past the 6 minute mark
Yeah.
without having 4 workers left or something like that, it's okay. Then I'll watch I'll watch the game interestedly. I think that's a bit too much to fight back though.
Mm.
But yeah, you provide good context there.
Yeah, I think it will be closer than 2 point. I mean, I cannot imagine one of these teams getting 2 digits in points.
Okay,
They
you
are
don't want to see
too.
it.
Yeah, I
What
don't. I mean,
happens if it is a 12? So I said 12-3. I came
yeah,
out there with a big bold claim that
yeah.
Glaba's team would get 12 points. How many point? Who do you win? Who wins, and how many points do you think they get? Like about. It doesn't have to be
8 to
exact.
9 points for the winner.
Okay. Okay.
Which can be either team. Like there's no clear favorite here. I think they are too closely matched. I mean, they all did a good thing. Or good drafting here. Except for Team Weird Red, I think. The draft was okay. Every seat they have, the players are very close. In general to each other. Of course, there are favorites and underdogs and stuff, but in general, I think we have a very even spread out skill, so to say, for the seats. And the players facing each other are very much on the same level most of the time. So we have very interesting matchups here, and that
Okay.
that is like for me that's perfect. I'm really happy that it worked out. But we see two less of 2-1s. I mean, it's best of three. So I think people just didn't start with pocket tactics because usually the first game in the best of three is a pocket
Yes.
strategy. So usually you expect the first game to be wild, like a clown fiesta, like everyone is doing silly stuff but trying his best to at least get one map. And then on the second
Yes.
game, it progresses into something where everyone is more in safe waters and everyone tries to just have a longer game where they can show off their macro skills, where they are comfortable, where they can play stuff they have practice. And then the second game is decided by skill usually, especially in macro, where you not slip up, where you not get supply blocked and stuff. And the third game can be either like a cheese game again because they just think, well, first game it worked, I do it again, or you have this kind of second game again. So that's usually how best of threes go. But so far, that's just not happening. Usually, people cheese every game, they're like yummy, or they just try to get their a standard game plan, and then that makes them very predictive. Like Beatflitz is really feeding off this. When he has a player who's doing the same thing every week, he just tells them what to do against it. Like he knows the counter to it, and then you're done for.
Yes.
Like, and that's I think something the teams really has to pick up. But we are only in week three, so there is still 2 weeks to play, and I think nothing is decided. So it's okay. I'm looking forward
Yes.
to having more 2-1s, and people
Yes.
approaching the best of three format and really abusing that fact because you have 3 maps. If you lose one, that's not a big deal. But if you get one, as a lower seeded player or as a supposedly lower skilled player, you're
Yes.
doing already a good job. Like you fight really for one. Like for example, Wiggy versus JN, he really fights for one map. If he can get one map, Team Square Root is most likely gonna win this. And if someone tells him, hey, just go there, build 2 proxy dens, and just produce wolves, don't lose them. Like, run in, but if you are not comfortable and you are afraid you're gonna lose them, just send them out, wait with them a bit. And then he has, like, at some point, he has 50 or 60 supply wolves. If he's not getting supply blocked, that's very early on. And then he can just 8 move. And JN will be definitely in a real world of trouble if he goes for castle and not setting up a tower and stuff. So there are some very tricky things you can do when you are not that good, when you are not on square roots level, where he already, or every player on that level really knows every counter to everything, and they know to scout, and they kind of sniff you out, and then they just beat you. So especially on the lower seats, I expect more cheese. Like, people just knowing you have to get one map and you are good. And I think if we start seeing that this week, would be awesome, because then we would have more upsets. And I mean, Square Root already doing that, right? Garitos already took a map off. Yami, for example, like he beaten AC with cheese. Like, it's working. So I'm really
Yes.
looking forward to it, and I can see, like, I think this week will be very, as you already pointed out earlier, um, very much determine what place Team Weirdwood will be in at the end of the season. Because if we imagine now, if we take a look at Team Renegade versus Team Weirdred, AC
Yes.
is gonna beat Albardo pretty much
I
2-0.
I don't see how Elbar. The problem is too. I imagine Albardo is the kind of guy who like he plays like Norm. He wants to do like the thing that he's supposed to do and play a solid game, and that's just not going to work against AC.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He really
yeah, I
has
think it
to
is a
step up a
2-0.
bit. Yeah.
Yes.
And Salen versus Weird Red, of course, Weird Red will make every like there's no way in hell Weird Red will let 2 maps, or like the 3 points will definitely go to Weird Red. I think there's no chance in
Oh, he's
hell
just
that
playing
Weird
too
will.
much, isn't he? He's just playing way too much. He's way too active. He's always doing replays.
Yeah.
Like it would be a disaster if, first off, if he loses, that's unfathomable. But if he even
Yeah.
drops a map, he's got to feel bad about that, right?
Yeah, but it will not happen. Like, let's be honest, Weird Red will fight like a tiger. Like, if he's in a bad spot, if he's behind or anything, he will definitely pull a square root. Like, start kata dropping in the most insane and disgusting, annoying way. He will crush Salient somehow. So
Yes.
I'm not seeing Weird Red losing this.
Yeah.
Honestly, like,
I,
he's not.
al-
Nah.
Also to continue the old storyline, like I think Weird Rat sometimes, if it's like a big pressure thing or if it's against someone that he knows that he
Yeah.
should play like really hard against,
Yeah.
sometimes he goes too hard and he like it just doesn't look like the same Weird Rat.
Yeah.
I don't think Weird Rat looks at Salen and thinks, holy shit, that's Salen, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think he's just like, all right, he wakes up, he gets his cup of coffee, he
Yeah.
peels back a banana, he throws the peel away. Oh, look, it landed on Salen's face. Like,
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Yeah.
that's what he's hoping for.
Yeah, but I think the really interesting matches will be Matthew versus Sneakhead and Nikamo versus Hollow Knife. I think these 2 matches will decide the outcome here, because if we go with the predictions, AC 3 points for Team Negat, Weird Red Team 3 points for him, so we have 3-3.
Yes.
Negat versus
Yes.
Matthew N. I guess it's gonna be a 2-0 for Negat, but I haven't seen him online. I don't know what the guy is doing, but I think right now he's not playing as much. I don't see uploads from him, so he
Yes.
might be busy
Yes.
with some real life stuff, which is
Yes.
unfortunate, of course, especially because the Pro
I would
League
I would
is just.
speculate that he's got some other stuff going on because, like you said, he was trying to be on that content grind. He was trying to put out a video
Yeah,
like every day or every
yeah,
other day or something like that.
yeah. So
Hmm.
there is maybe keeping Negat away from Little Wargame currently. So I can imagine Negat losing, even 2-1. I don't see him losing straight up versus Beatflitz. But I also didn't predict that Beatflitz would beat him 2-0. So really, Matthew N is grinding like a lunatic. He's getting gay games in with Weird Red. He's playing a lot with Speedy Bowser. I'm talking to him and helping him with my input, although it's
Oh,
not
I'm
great.
always playing with him too. He's super active, is
Yeah,
the point that you're making, right? We've got
yeah,
we got two people who are pretty equal, roughly, in skill, but one
yeah.
of them's always on and always available
And
for
Matthew is
games,
also
and the other one is.
increasing. Like, he's getting better every week. It's also something to
Mhm.
keep in mind. So I'm
Yes.
really looking forward to this. I can imagine Matthew winning this, which would be a huge blow for Team Negat, I think. And
Yeah.
that would mean that we have 6 points for Team Weird Red. Then Speedy Bowser versus Murderk. I think Murderk is might not be favored here. I think Speedy
I
Bowser
agree. I
is
agree.
is
I
is,
think
is
Speedy
better.
is favored.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
because
so too.
Madurg is he's trading evenly with people like J Tac N and Matthew N, and
Yeah,
then losing straight up to people like Jonalith. But
yeah.
if you look at Speedy Bozar's MMR, one, he's got 80 more than Madurg,
Yeah.
comfortably almost Div 1. And then secondly, he's just beating all of the people that Madurg is losing to. You're like, oh, Madurg went 50-50 against this person and then was like struggling against this person and beat this person. You just see those same names online on Speedy Bozar's page. He's just
Mm,
like, took him to the cleaners, took him to the washers, the rinse cycle, the spin cycle, the
yeah,
MMR collecting bin. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
can,
I
but I
think
can.
it looks good for Speedy. At
Yeah.
least two, I think 2-1 though. I think Badurg has some play in this. Like he showed some games. He beat Jay Taken, who was his superior in MMR and by
Mm,
by appearance seemed to have a worse style matchup. So
yeah.
I could see Badurg getting a point.
Well, DC actually told me that he thinks it's 50-50. So he really
Okay,
thinks these two players are on par. And I think Medurk is playing a lot of customs. So since he's not really grinding ladder, um, going with the I mean there's also ladder anxiety and stuff. Maybe he's affected by that. Maybe he just doesn't like playing ranked that much, or he's just trying things out like Zelos is doing and not really
sure.
caring about wins or loses. So there might be reasons for Medurk to not to look not as strong as he really is, because beating JN was very unexpected already, I think.
Yes.
So I can imagine Medurk even winning this 2-1. So I'm more
Okay.
on the 50-50 side, but I think Speedy Bowser is, if anyone, slightly favored. Um, yeah, and then we have
Yeah,
Hollow
that's why
Knight
I'm
for.
saying 2-1. That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
said 2. Like I think Badurg has play here. He has
yeah,
something that he can do. He can show his skills.
yeah,
He's not completely outclassed, right?
yeah, 100%.
Now for the last one you were getting into, Hollow
Yeah,
Knifer and Mo.
very hard to say. I think Hollow Knife might be a bit better, but I haven't seen any of these players. I haven't played them. I haven't seen them active. I don't know. Maybe Team Weird Red and Team Negat coaching them. But I don't have a read on that. That can go either way. I would hope for as this one to be this decider map. I hope everything else is played before that. And then Nikimo and Hollow Knife are kind of have the pressure on them. I think
Yes.
that would be nice.
Yes, it's more
Um,
interesting, right?
yeah.
I,
But yeah.
I'm gonna give it to so I'm with you. It's almost a 50-50, but there's two things that make me want to give it to Hollow Knifer, right?
Hmm.
And the first is Hollow Knifer. Okay, so Hollow Knifer is actually a little bit worse MMR wise, but has also played fewer public games. Now that sounds like that's a bad sign, right?
Mm.
Until I add in this second thing. When Mo is playing against people you don't see on ladder that often, like Bob Show, Paluski, uh, you know, Fleur de Lis. These aren't people who are grinding all of the time, but so it's you might think that you could beat them or take some fight to them. Hollow Knifer is queuing up into ranked, up against people, and he's got losses now. Yeah, I'm gonna spin this around so it sounds great. He's lost games in a row to Jonaleth. He's lost games in a row to Beat Flitz. He lost games in a row to Palaco Noob. He lost games in a row to B Sherm. Now, the reason in a row matters is that Hollow Knifer is one of those people who
He doesn't
sees
care.
that, like, oh, exactly. There's like
Mm.
5 people online. They're not really, but there's like 40, 50 people online, right? 3 of them are searching for ranked. He can read the names and see that they're all people who have beaten him or having winning record, and
Yeah.
he's jamming the play button anyways. And that says to me that he might have started the pro league as the worst player, but with 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure he could actually fight this. Like, I just haven't seen Mo's ladder ranks that are taking out anybody, or even trying to contest it. Like, as I've learned from my own practice, you can get a lot better by just losing the right 20 games in a row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you lose against the right people and you learn from them, you really learn from that, you can get astronomically better really quickly.
But
So I actually
you also have to check when the games were played, and everything was done in July, in the first 2 weeks of July. Um, and we now have like 1 month later, and he was beating Josh's. So I think the stats really don't tell you anything about Hollenheifer. It's very hard to get a
okay.
read on it. I
Okay.
mean, sure, he lost versus Beecham, but it was on the 10th of July, so very long time ago.
A month ago, yeah, it's like 5 weeks ago now.
So that's really something to keep in mind when talking about Hollenheifer. I can imagine him being online as a guest, or maybe having an alt account and playing on that. So there are some newly created accounts playing in the ladder. For example, Romham also. I mean, I guess he's not Romham, but there are some weird
I get
accounts.
your point. There's some accounts where it's like really suspicious that
Yeah,
we haven't seen their name before, but they're
yeah,
like 14-3 and
yeah,
sitting in
yeah,
Div 2 at exactly the same ranking that
yeah,
the
yeah,
other people had.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It makes
so
sense.
so maybe he's playing on another account and just flying under the radar, kind of. So yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. It's not that one-sided. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this week.
Yes.
Especially anticipating week 4 matchups. So yeah, but I guess that's concluding
Yep.
it. You want to add
Yep.
something?
Yeah, just to wrap up because I like doing this. It
Yeah.
helps the viewers. It helps the engagement. My thoughts are Beat Flitz is 8-7 over Slammer 4's team. Square Root beats Glaba, rather Glaba beats Square Root 12-3. And then I think that oh geez. The problem is I think Team Weird Rat beats EGAT's team
Wow.
by something really weird like 8-7.
Mm.
Like I don't think I mean I think that's a really bad sign for Negat's team and actually as good as it could possibly get for Weird Rat.
Yeah, I
So
think
I think Weird Rat's
Nigat
team
kind of,
wins barely.
yeah, using that many wildcards, Weird Red really surprised everyone, but Nigat especially. I didn't. I think Nigat didn't anticipate this. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very hard to anticipate. I think Weird Red
Yes.
used 3 or 4 wildcards.
Yep.
So he has only 2 left now, so 3 wildcards used. That makes him the person with the least amount of wildcards left over. Everyone else has at
Okay.
least 3 wildcards. But I think he had to do that, right? He needs points. If you take a look at the table, it looks really dire for him.
Yeah, he's got 2 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What's the quick send up of who you think wins each 3 matchups?
Well, I think
Just like the
actually,
fast version for anyone listening at the end.
yeah, I think Beatflitz um might be losing this one. But very close, like 8-7, 9-6, something like that. And I think Team Slammer will kind of get this. Just because
Okay.
Guy and Chat will surprise us, and maybe Bisham even will surprise us. Um, and then we have Glaba versus Square Root, where I think Glaba might be able to take this if we take a look at Glaba versus Square Root. Yeah, I think Glaba surprises Team Square Root this week. And Team
Okay.
Nigat versus Team Weird Red, I just want to have Weird Red win a week. So I would love to have him do this.
Yes.
So out of
Yes.
sympathy, I would like to have Team Weird Red winning, and I just tell them now. I think it's gonna be 8-7 or something closely, but he will
Yes.
win a week, and that will be
Okay.
great. So yeah, that's my prediction, I
I,
guess.
Okay, I want to take the last little bit here and go over the table and just say, like, if we look at the points, right? I'll just read them out loud for the viewers. So right now, week 2, right? 23 points for Beat Flitz and square root of -1, 18 for Glaba, 15 for Slammer 4, 12 for Negad, and 2 for Weird Rat. It's as dire as we were saying it is. It's week 3, consciously. Who do you think is going to win, knowing what you know now about where people are points wise? Do you want to change
Mm,
who you think wins?
yeah, I think Beatflitz is gonna win this season. Um,
Okay.
Glaba will be second. Might be a tight position with Square Root's team.
Okay.
And then we have Team Slammer, Team Negat, and then Team Weird Red in the last place, unfortunately.
I have learned nothing. I'm doubling down. I think Team Slammer 4 is going to win, and here's
Wow.
why. Because look at this. Slammer 4's team, 3 points behind Globus. They played them already week 1, so that's not a problem. We
Mm.
were hyping up how Square Root of -1's team is doing really, really well, right?
Mm.
Well, Slammer took 6 points off of that.
Mm.
And then you're like, oh, but wait, why does Square Root's team have so many points? Oh, wait, who has 23 points? Beat Flitz and Square Root of -1.
Mm.
Which teams have fought Weird Rat's team?
Yeah, these two teams, of
I'll
course.
give you a hint. It's Square Root and Beat Flitz's team, right? So I think actually Slammer Force coming up on like a big 12-point send up week themselves. And I think all of these 6-9s, 9-6s that they're managing going to start to look really good in their favor as we get into weeks 4 and 5.
Yeah, but there is only one
Right.
team or two teams unbeaten, and Square Root already beat Team Negat. So yeah, interesting to see you predicting this. So yeah,
Yes,
maybe
yes.
you're right.
I'm doubling down. If I'm wrong, I was wrong, and the signs were there that I was wrong. But if I'm right, ooh, I was right the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Okay.